Hi there, good evening and thanks for joining me in this fresh edition of the program, The Insight on Equinox Television. Tonight, my guest will be talking about the justice system in the country. Tonight, my guest will be giving us the untold story of the arrest of AYAH ABINE, Chief Justice and Advocate General at Cameroon's Supreme Court. Equally, we shall be looking at efforts made by government for things to come back to normalcy. The Minister for Secondary Education, Jean-Ernest Massenangale Bibehe, toured the southwest and the northwest regions of the country to see just how far the stakeholders are preparing for a kickstart of the practical part of the GCE that will begin this Monday, and even the written part on June 5. This and more will be yours. Join me and my guests right after this. Good evening. This is The Insight. You're watching on Equinox Television. My guest tonight is AYAH AYAH ABINE. He is the son of AYAH ABINE, Justice AYAH ABINE, Advocate General at the Supreme Court, now incarcerated at the State Defense Secretariat in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. The family decided to break the silence and bring to us the untold story of the arrest and detention of AYAH ABINE. Good evening and thanks for joining me.
Good evening, Mr. Harrison, and thanks for having me. I've been impatiently waiting for this golden opportunity to let Cameroonians get the true stories of what could be happening in a republic said to be in a state of law.
Now, a pleasure having you, and we hope that our discussion will be fruitful and to clarify televiewers who are watching us tonight. Now, you are coming at a time when the head of state has just summoned the Higher Judicial Council on the 7th of June, that is Wednesday, June 7, 2017. It is coming barely close to 3 years since the last one was held on the 18th of December 2014, when he saw the appointment of your father, Justice AYAH ABINE, as Advocate General at Cameroon Supreme Court. There are rumors that close to 3 years after, he might be dethroned.
Yes, Harrison, it's a possibility. Everything is possible in Cameroon. Maybe I go as far back as the early 2000s, when my dad himself applied to go on anticipated retirement. It was the previous dispensation under the former minister that was championing the fire. And he did that as if it was his own fire, and we had hopes that our father would rest. AYAH ABINE falls into the category of people that believes you shouldn't hold on to the end with regard to power, clinging to power. There is a time for work, there is a time for rest. So he himself applied to go on early retirement. But when the former dispensation was replaced by the current one, under the now minister, that fire disappeared. So if AYAH, as it is rumored, is sent on retirement, it won't come as a surprise. You know, when AYAH was picked up, I think 2 months after he was picked up, not the same month, there were rumors, and it was relayed by a very authoritative voice. Just permit me show that to the televiewers, that the government was planning to send AYAH on retirement in order to jail him. Just let our viewers look at this. This is the Kalara newspaper. You could see there. Yeah, the government was doing everything to send AYAH on retirement in order to jail him. So this Judicial Council would come as no surprise to us if AYAH is sent on retirement. But there is one fact that will not change. When he was abducted, he was Advocate General of the Supreme Court. And what would be done on June 7th, positive or negative to the AYAH family, would have no retrospective effect. So we care very less about what the Judicial Council would decide on that day.
Why do you say abducted? He was arrested?
No. I would talk law and facts throughout this discussion. These are the facts. AYAH was picked up from our residence without a warrant. What does the law say? For anyone to be picked up, there ought to be a warrant. This is the Criminal Procedure Code. Section 18 of this code states it very clearly. Unless you are caught in commission of an offense, they call it flagrant delito, or immediately after committing an offense, unless you are caught in such situation, you cannot be picked up without a warrant of arrest. AYAH was picked up from our residence. That's why we don't like to use the word arrested. We use the word abducted or kidnapped by agents working for the government without a warrant. Can you imagine this is happening in a republic where a symbol of the law can be treated this way, like a criminal, a symbol of the law? He who embodies the law, he who protects the law and applies the law, treated like a criminal. So you can imagine what is happening to millions of Cameroonians, the unknown people like you and I, who have no one to talk for them. You can imagine what could be happening in the suburbs, like backward AYAH, where my cousin was shot on February 13th by military men for no reason. You can imagine what can be happening to the common man who has no one to defend him, if this can be happening to the Advocate General of the Supreme Court of the land.
But AYAH Abine, you are a jurist and a spokesperson, a son and a spokesperson of the AYAH family. Don't you see that in a situation where the state was almost, the country was almost in a state of an emergency, don't you see that in such a situation he could have been arrested like that?
Thank you for bringing that point up, and thank you for using the word almost. It's only in a state of emergency, a state of siege, a state of exception, that the government can proceed with this kind of lawlessness, if I call it that way. Picking up people, some are picked up at midnight, picking up people without warrant of arrest, detaining them for over 113 days, as is the case of my dad, without a charge. It's only in a state of emergency and a state of siege, which has not yet been declared in Cameroon, that can be done. Ordinary times, normal times, as is currently the case, this cannot be done in a republic said to be in a state of law. It's abominable.
All about undeclared state of emergency, because that's what we have been witnessing now, especially in the two English-speaking regions of the country.
Yes, it is an undeclared state of emergency, taking into account the manner in which, as I just said, people are picked up, taking into account the militarization of both Anglophone regions. We have the impression we are in an undeclared state of emergency, but we would have wished that the government acted legally and formally by declaring a state of emergency and proceeding in doing things the way they have been done for over 6 months, I guess. Yeah, rather than giving a picture that everything is fine, we are in normal times, and we see things like this. This is a catastrophe to the judiciary in a country said to be in a state of law. It is a catastrophe.
What did the government, or what did said that the State Defense Secretariat tell the family when Justice AYAH Abine was arrested?
Permit me go back to the untold story. It is 5 minutes past 5 p.m. on a beautiful Saturday, January 21st, 2017. We're indoors, and the bell rings, and my cousin moves to open the door, and as he does so, 6 unidentified armed men dressed in civil clothing get into the house by force. It is worth stating and insisting that my father is half naked, sitting in the parlor. He has some house trousers, pair of trousers on, and a singlet, watching TV. And you wouldn't believe this, but it happened before me and my mom. The gentlemen tell my dad they have orders to take him. Orders from who? Silence. Where are you taking me to? To the Commissioner of Government. Does the Commissioner of Government work on a Saturday? Silence. And even if he's operational on a Saturday at 5 minutes past 5 o'clock, getting to 5:30, are you taking me to the Commissioner of Government? Doesn't the law require a warrant, a remand warrant, or a warrant of arrest, whatever warrant you may call it, in order for you to take me to wherever? Do you have such a document? Do you have such a legal instrument? No. You could be armed robbers. What attests to the fact that you're even working for the state? Silence. And it gets very tense. And the people kept repeating to Dad that if he continues asking those stupid questions, talking law, and worse off, if he resists. Let me say it in French using their words. Ça va tourner très mal. Things will become very bad for him. This is happening in front of me and Mom. Can I call my lawyer? Dad asks. No. And I was about to ask the next question. One of them picked him up by the belt and pulled him. They were already taking him away. And I got very offended. And I stopped them and I asked, but are we in a state of law? Let's just assume that there is no constitution of the Republic of Cameroon that provides for that. Somebody is presumed innocent. Let's just assume it doesn't exist. AYAH Paul is not innocent before the contrary is proven. Isn't he entitled as a human being to dress up before going wherever you're taking him to? My dad is half naked. And maybe by some divine inspiration, when I voiced out those words, some calm reigned for a while. And one of them, who has become a very good friend of mine, asked who I was. I said, I'm son of AYAH Paul. He looked at me for 7 seconds, about that time. And he turned towards my dad again, and to me, and asked the same question and got the same answer. And I asked him, is my dad not entitled to dress up before going with you people wherever you're going to? By the way, do you have a warrant to take him wherever you're taking him to? No noise. Who are you people? You could be armed robbers. You have guns. You're dressed in civil attire. Who are you? No noise. Where are you taking Dad to? To the Commissioner of Government. Dad just asked you people, does the Commissioner of Government work on a Saturday? No noise. Are you sure you're even taking him there? No noise. Meanwhile, Mom is just by my side and she's scandalized by what is happening, seeing men pulling her husband like a criminal. She's speechless. She wanted to get in. I said, no, Mom, just let me go. You know, women could be a little too emotional at times. So I told these guys, for you to take my dad away, you need a warrant to do so. One of them by me told me they are not here for me, so I rather shut up, or things may get worse for me. I told him, no. I'm talking here about my dad. You're telling me to shut up. This is a man who means everything to me. We are what we are because of him. And you want me to shut up watching this kind of lawlessness before my eyes? And then the top guy there, touched by some divine hand, let me go get something for Dad to put on. I went into the room, escorted by one of them. And after, Mom asked if she could go with them, and they said, okay, you can come. Mom goes into the room to change clothes, and you won't believe this. One of them follows Mom right to her bedroom. And she asks the young man, my son, don't I have privacy? Would I change clothes before you? And the gentleman told him, he's a good friend of mine. Now, he's become a good friend of mine. I have orders. You just have to do that, or maybe you don't change clothes. So Mom is forced to accompany Dad to wherever they're taking him with she was in the kitchen with kitchen clothing. I am behind them coming. On the way, mom calls me and tells me, they're no more taking your dad to the military tribunal. They have just told us now they're taking him to SED. And I asked, but why does the journey change on the road? He said, no, just come. So we get to SED, and we are told it's an arrest without a warrant, and that dad will be detained on Saturday. Who gave those orders till now? Nobody's telling us who gave orders for a dad.
Orders from above. No, what did they tell you he did?
Good. We're coming to that. As we speak, Mr. Harrison, it is 113 days plus since dad was picked up. Nobody's telling us what dad has done wrong. Nobody. It is the first time in the Republic of Cameroon that somebody of that magnitude is picked up. And the spokesman of the government, who is always prompt to inform Cameroonians about such happenings and why they occurred, even he is quiet. 113 days plus. That is picked up at the heart of the Anglophone crisis. So everything leads everyone to believe it's in relation to the Anglophone crisis. The papers have written. We were surprised at the court when we seized the court for that immediate release.
The habeas corpus.
The habeas corpus application. For those who don't understand what habeas corpus is, it's embodied in section 584 of the Criminal Procedure Code. It is a legal provision that makes it possible for a victim who was illegally arrested and detained to be released unconditionally and immediately. So when we got there, we're informed that the court, we're informed that dad is accused for acts of terrorism, complicity against the state, security, secession, insurrection, coalition with terrorists against the state, and so on and so forth. We're informed of such declarations.
That's just after you had applied for the habeas corpus.
That's after we applied for the habeas corpus. So, contrary to what the law states, when you pick up somebody, you take him before a judicial authority, for example, an examining magistrate. In this case, since we are told it's terrorism, it would have been the commissaire de gouvernement, the commissioner of government. You take him before the commissioner of government, and the commissioner of government charges him, and then he's given the opportunity to defend himself. It has never been done. My dad was picked up, taken to SED, thrown into a cage. I would explain that in a moment. And he's at SED till we speak. No charge against him. He's just there. We don't know what he has done wrong. Okay, when somebody comes and says he's been accused for acts of terrorism, secession, that is not a charge. That is journalism. It is what I can call, it's ignorance. It's not a charge. A charge is embodied in section 164 of the Criminal Procedure Code. You have to tell somebody you've picked up that you, Mr. AYAH Abine, on so day, in so place, you did this and this and this, which is contrary to law, this and this and this, and punishable by this and this and this.
In a sense, you are demanding for an exhibit.
Yeah, there is no, it does not exist. All we are told is literature. He's been accused of this and this, but nobody is telling us what he did that amounts to him being accused for this and this. That's what is a charge. Till we speak, as we speak, AYAH has not been charged. You won't believe that is happening. And we don't even know the law that is being applied with regard to our dad. We don't know the law that's been followed. If he's under police custody has a duration of 48 hours, renewable once. He has been there for 113 days plus. I don't know how many 48 hours exist in 113 days plus. Renewable eternally. We don't know what law is applied regarding to his being kept there. Nobody understands. Okay, let's just assume the state is correct in stating that dad is a terrorist. Let's just assume. Section 12 of the anti-terrorism law talks of the direct transmission of a victim, let me just read the wording so that the viewers can follow. A victim that is picked up, section 12 of the anti-terrorism law, shall be by direct order sent on trial. Direct order. So if you are picked up now, as we are doing this live, immediately you are taken to court. You are not kept somewhere for 100 days plus for investigation to be carried out. So if it's the anti-terrorism law that is being used against Sadat, he's supposed to be in court defending himself and not somewhere sitting and watching. So what is the law that the state is using against Sadat? We don't know what that has done wrong. We don't know the law that is being used against him. Can this be happening in a republic? Is the question I keep asking.
Now, AYAH ABINE, how is the detention condition like? You have been visiting your dad on a daily basis at the State Defense Secretariat. At one point, we had news that he was very ill. How's the situation like today?
It takes a lot of courage to go visit dad, come back and not shed tears. It takes a lot of courage. If I've not been able to shed tears for over 100 days plus, it's because I'm a man and most of those around me are younger than myself or are women. I should in no situation show them that I'm breaking down. When Dad was picked up on that famous Saturday, January 21st, Dad was dumped into what I call a cage. You won't believe this, but authorities know it's true. That's why they have not been able to counter anything we say up till date. Dad was dumped into a place, a small room, windowless, airtight, no aeration. Windowless, airtight room. Somebody presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. When we got to set on Sunday to give Dad breakfast, I was there with Mom. Mom almost broke down. Dad's face was swollen. His eyes were very red. And this portion of his face, till we speak, as we speak, is still the case, very black, just one night. And Mom exclaimed and said, "What is happening to you? One night you're like this? Were you molested?" He just smiled. He's a strong man. We gave Dad breakfast. He ate standing for 2 days. He ate in front of the cell, standing, takes a cup of tea. He was refused even a chair in the cell to sit down. So when he's in the cell, well, he either sleeps on the floor or sits on the floor, even a chair, plastic chair. So Dad eats standing, looking at us, takes his cup of tea. If it's lunch, eating standing in front of us under the sunlight. So Mom told him, "What's the problem?" And took his cup of tea. He told us he almost died last night. But for the person, I won't call the name, by us, who came and saved him at the nick of time. What happened? He's in a windowless, airtight room. I witnessed, I got in there myself and looked at the room. And there was power failure at night. And he almost suffocated. He kept hitting the door, hitting as loud as he possibly could, until that lieutenant sent by God, that's an angel, came and opened the cell and saw that he was as wet as someone who was swimming, struggling to get some air to breathe. The lieutenant himself was very terrified, and he gave orders that day, as from that day, that his cell should be left open. There is a main door to the cells. He should be left open so that from time to time he can come out to the main door and get some air. We put a lot of pressure on the authorities, as said. Dad can give up the ghost. He almost gave up the ghost last night. Please get him a new cell. Those calls fell on deaf ears. Rather, the authorities, as said, were bent on carrying out their investigation, forcing Dad to sign papers, forcing him for questioning, to take on questions. And we asked him.
Did he sign the papers?
No, he can't sign. He's a jurist. He didn't even have his glasses on him. I need my medical glasses to sign whatever. I don't sign what I don't read. By the way, what is more important to you people? I asked them. My dad stays alive in good health, mental, physical health, or you carrying on your investigation in the state in which dad finds himself. My dad almost died last night and you know it. Get us a new cell. For Ayah to defend himself, Ayah needs to be in good physical, mental, psychological condition. Don't you people understand that? The authorities reacted, I think 72 hours after. But it was late. Dad had already picked up a heart condition and his sight had failed.
Testified by
a medical doctor, a cardiologist, and an ophthalmologist. An international ophthalmologist even came afterwards and gave the same report. His sight is failing. So we are forced now to take Dad monthly to a cardiologist and to an ophthalmologist for them to check on his medical condition. As of Thursday this week, there was blood clotting around the iris of his left eye. We rang the alarm signals and we were told we should rush with an ophthalmologist there. I hope today it could be. It could be done as soon as possible. The ophthalmologists have not been very disposed to do so. Dad's left eye has really depreciated. He complains he doesn't even see there. And we could attest to that fact with the blood that is clotting around his iris. All these are consequences to the uncalled for and unjustified aggression on our dad. This is a very strong man who doesn't go to hospitals. He doesn't go to hospitals. He doesn't take drugs. He is never sick. Doctors in Boer, late Dr. Kawa, could testify. All those there, he doesn't take drugs. He's never sick. Anything happening to him now is as a result of this aggression to the Ayah family.
Talking about the family now, how is the family faring? The family of Chief Justice AYAH ABINE. How is the family faring after this arrest?
Let us put it this way. You get a 2-month-old child beaten up with an iron rod, an iron electrocuted rod, and you prevent the child from crying. You warn him that if he cries, you get him beaten twice with that rod. And if possible, you may even take off his life. If he asks questions as to why you got him beaten up, because he knows he's innocent. You prevent even his parents and his kindred from asking you why you got the child, a 2-month-old child, a defenseless kid, beaten up with an iron electrocuted rod. That's what's happening to the Ayah family. We are living in fear, intimidation, threats, and insecurity since Dad was picked up.
Threats from who? By who?
Nothing
what
happening.
Type of threats?
Yes. Nothing happening to the Ayah family now is a coincidence. Nothing. On April 21st, for example, April 21st, last month, at 1 a.m., we had terrorists at our doorstep. They did everything to force their way into the house. The neighbors saw them, but they weren't courageous enough to come out. They rang the bell more than 40 times. They tried forcing the gate open. They did that for 2 hours. At a certain point, they got into their car. There was a car because we had them get into a car and drive off. And we thought they had gone. But minutes after, they returned and did the same thing. No one can explain how those terrorists didn't get into the house, but for divine intervention. It was the hand of God. Since then...
How did you know they were terrorists?
Since then...
How did you know they were terrorists?
Who is a terrorist? A terrorist is somebody who has as objective to plant terror somewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody who is carrying a bomb, as we see in Iraq and Syria. Anybody who has as objective to terrorize people is a terrorist.
Maybe there was just thieves in the neighborhood.
No. Thieves cannot have the courage those people had. There were people drinking at the bar just a stone throw away. People. There were night watchmen around the area who said they saw a car parked just at our entrance. And they thought maybe they were family members or something. And those guys did all they did, very serene. They didn't tremble. We complained to the authorities. I did that myself, handwritten complaint. And as I speak, I haven't had even a call from the authorities to come and explain myself. A week afterwards, this was witnessed by our cousin, one of our cousins, and the neighbors. A black car, a Land Cruiser, at about 4 p.m., came and parked at the entrance to the house. Everybody noticed it because we hardly have this kind of visitors there. It was fully loaded. 4 men in black suits, 1 man in a brown suit. They were looking at the house, discussing among themselves. The person in front, as we're told, was taking down some notes. And after about 10 minutes, they drove off. Immediately they drove off. Neighbors came home in series, recounting the story. We saw this man, these people, they were like this, dressed like this. The only mistake is that nobody showed the immatriculation number. That's why we refrained from publicizing any immatriculation number to the public. They were dressed like this, and this, and this, and this. And our cousin too was drinking nearby, came home and said the same thing. On February 13th, my nephew, Aya's grandson, was shot at AYAH by men in uniform. He almost gave up the ghost, but by some divine intervention. It was the hand of God. He lost a lot of blood. You know how AYAH is enclaved. We don't even have the medical know-how to take care of those kind of cases. He was rushed to Nigeria. There was nobody there, neighboring Nigeria, Obudu. There was nobody there to give him blood. He was in a coma for over 72 hours. We sent money. He was brought back to AYAH and rushed to Bamenda. Anja Fred, that's the name. All this is happening to the AYAH family. And then we get constant threats from people, preventing us from telling our story. There's something I keep telling them. One thing my dad taught me when I was 12 is to the effect that it is more honorable to die for the truth, defending a just cause, than to live in lies and flourish.
Okay.
There will always be consequences. But those who go by the truth and live by the truth are honorable men, and they die happy men.
Now, it seems the family's account is empty. Has the family gone that low to beg money from Cameroonians and even those in the diaspora, where you have a launch, a GoFundMe, and how is the situation like?
Well, Ayapo is one of, if I could borrow from his words, is one of the poorest magistrates still standing. When he was back as president throughout his career, he was called the Pope, owing to the fact that he displayed exceptional honesty and integrity. There was a time before he stood for the presidential elections 2011 that he challenged all Cameroonians that if there is any man living from whom he has collected any franc to grant judgment in or against his favor, the person should show up and provide that as proof to Cameroonians against his integrity. Until date, nobody can do that. His colleagues know how upright he has been. The government owes my dad 17 months arrears of salary. The government is refusing to pay. 17 months. And I am of the opinion that even what he's entitled to now is not what he's supposed to be entitled to as Advocate General of the Supreme Court. A lot of authoritative voices have made that statement to us, the family, and to him. I won't say how much he earns. With all this financial coup d'etat carried out against my dad, the family is left with itself to fight, to survive, especially during these trying times, to take care of, to attend to lawyers' bills, to ensure the daily running of dad's upkeep, which is very expensive. We can't do that alone. So some Cameroonians reached out to us and asked us how they could be of financial help. And the advice that we displayed to the public, the mediums through which they could assist the AYAH family. That's why we came out with those mobile money accounts displayed on my Facebook page. And Cameroonians of goodwill of the diaspora, they came up with a GoFundMe account that could be used to clear lawyers' bills. So financially, we are really badly off, but we are very confident that the good Lord, who has always provided, will keep providing.
Okay. So anything to say again about the imprisonment of your dad before we move over to the next topic?
I would love to explain to Cameroonians the laws that have been violated with respect to my dad. Nobody is above the law. That we are very okay. Even a magistrate can go to prison if he's found guilty of committing an offense. But in AYAH's case, even the laws that protect him have been blatantly violated. Article 629 of the Criminal Procedure Code states that if a judge or a magistrate is susceptible to be charged of having committed an offense, susceptible, if I can use the normal day-to-day parlance, Congosa parlance of the quartier, I could say, if there is some gossip, Congosa, Mr. AYAH Paul is a criminal. The President of the Supreme Court appoints a judge to look into the affair. He appoints a judge. And if there is proof warranting the affair to be heard, 3 other judges are appointed who are of equal status, at least of equal status to the judge in question, or even more greater than him, to hear the affair. Nothing in the law warrants a judge to be picked up before being sent. I don't know how this could happen. He's first arrested and kept in the name of some investigation being going on, and then afterwards he's sent to the Supreme Court to hear the affair. There is what we call the principle of double jeopardy. Okay, the military tribunal is telling us they have charged our dad. The law is saying if he has to be charged, the President of the Supreme Court appoints a judge to look into our affair. So the military tribunal charges our dad. Then he's sent to the Supreme Court where he could possibly be charged again. It doesn't go that way.
Okay.
If the law is to be respected, he has to be let loose, sent home, and the President of the Supreme Court has to take the affair into hand.
All right.
To follow up the affair. That was detained on a Saturday. Article 119 sub 4 of this code says none can be detained on a Saturday. It doesn't go. Except you are caught in the commission of a felony. You cannot be detained on a Saturday.
Okay.
He's detained on a Saturday.
The case is not in the hands of the Supreme Court. It is not in the hands of the Supreme Court.
The case is in the hands of the Supreme Court. The habeas corpus case is in the hands of the Supreme Court. We are at the level of the Supreme Court now. We are the High Court and the Appeal Court of Yaoundé. And the ruling by the magistrates of those courts is to the effect that no, he was legally arrested. There was no warrant. He was legally arrested. He was legally detained on a Saturday. That everything was just okay. And he's legally charged. This is happening in the Republic, said to be instead of law. We are hoping the Supreme Court, his colleagues, could look into this case and say what every Cameroonian is expecting them to say. The laws have been blatantly violated.
Now, despite government's effort measures to solve the Anglophone problem, things are still blocked? Are the Anglophones not asking too much from the government?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. At the beginning of the crisis, the lawyers and the teachers have legitimate concerns. They're telling the government it's not going well year and year and year and year. What is the reaction of the government? That's what sparks the crisis, in my opinion. The government, some authoritative voices say there's no crisis, there's no Anglophone problem. Others say Anglophones are terrorists. Yes, people made those statements. They call them Boko Harams. Others say they're just two cubes of sugar in an ocean. Minorities, they have no moment. Then the government stepped up gear. Repression. People were picked up. The Agbobalas, the Fontaines, and worst of all, the highest ranked Anglophone judge of the land, AYAH. I wonder what signal that sent to Anglophones. Their highest judge picked up. Then people were killed. Others were raped. And I saw some abuses on women that I have never seen, even in ancient days Siberia. Women forced to drink dirt from toilets. They are bathed in that kind of stuff. That radicalized positions shifted. It has become so radical that even those who talked federation, the taboo word, are not courageous enough to talk federation anymore. That is what got all this sour. It's gone to the point where the release of those under detention is the only way forward for the beginning of useful and meaningful dialogue between both parties. It cannot go any other way. Let's stop fooling ourselves. It goes through the release of those persons. Authoritative voice in the CBDM have said the same thing. The opposition is unanimous on that. The civil society, national and international representatives have said that. The diaspora is saying the same. The government, as a sign of good faith, should let these guys out of where they find themselves. They are the legitimate spokesmen of Anglophones. They are the persons to be used by the government to pass through their message of appeasement to Anglophones. It will go through them. It won't go through any other person. The Prime Minister has tried and failed. Bishop Cleta has tried and failed. Mr. Dagaman has tried and failed. Ministers have tried and failed. I am not sure even the Pope, if he's sent down to mediate, would succeed. He won't. Because the people have become too radicalized owing to government's handling of the crisis, which to my opinion has been very irresponsible. They had to hit the iron when it was hot. A stitch in time saves 9. We're told that when we were in primary school.
But why can't we let bygone be bygone? The government is trying to ameliorate situations now.
The measures taken by government are cosmetic. They are applaudable, they are laudable, but they are cosmetic. What Anglophones are saying, you and me know it, we keep our ears to the ground. They want a debate on the form of the state. It is not a taboo. It is an intellectual. The government has on its side the best intellectuals Cameroon has ever had. It is an intellectual debate. It's an exchange of ideas. If you are for decentralization, which you have not been able to apply for 20 years plus, effective decentralization, you have not been able to apply for 20 years plus, send your best minds to a panel. Let those who think it's not decentralization, the Anglophones are saying a federalism will solve your problem. Let them come onto the plateau. There are even those talking secession. Let them come to the plateau and let those best minds the government have disprove these meaningless claims from Anglophones before Cameroonians. It's very easy. It's an intellectual debate. There should be a debate on the political way forward of the crisis.
Okay. Before we go, any last thing on your dad before we leave?
Mr. Harrison, there have been a lot of rumors on why my dad is under detention, owing to the fact that government has not been courageous enough to address the situation. The government has not come out, as they have done in previous occasions, to tell Cameroonians, we picked up this man, he's a criminal, he did this and this and this and this. The government has been quiet for close to 4 months. That is interesting. So, people have been on the TV, the press, speculating. Some call him a secessionist. AYAH is head of a Popular Action Party. He was in the presidential elections of 2011. He was 5th. He's still president of the Popular Action Party. He's member of the Republican Pact, the group of gentlemen that want to present a unique candidate against Biya in 2018, if he would be Biya. Can this same man be a secessionist? Talking about that, the papers even carried the story. AYAH was tipped to be the unique opposition candidate. I'm sure that's where the enemy swore his worst. AYAH has, as his project de société, his vision for Cameroon since 2010, a federation. Why was a federation not the crime then? It was not a crime in 2012, in 2013. AYAH has been on the press since he got into the political scene, saying no to secession, yes to federation. How can this same man, who is running a national political party, talking federation, be a secessionist? Others said they found millions of, hundreds of millions in AYAH's accounts. I have been on the press, even on your media, showing AYAH's pay slips to the public. As of January, AYAH had 31,000 francs in the savings account and 296,000 francs in his current account. Where are the hundreds of millions that prompted his abduction? Where are they? Why does the government not come and present the hundreds of millions to the public? Others are saying, yeah, not some of those rumors. Okay, AYAH talks federation. There are hundreds of people talking federation. Why is AYAH's case a special case? Let me just prove to the public why AYAH's case is special.
That's very briefly. We have just about 1 minute.
Let me just prove to the public why AYAH's case is special. At least a judge was arrested and let loose hours after his arrest on the grounds that he benefits from privileged jurisdiction. AYAH is at the hierarchy of the magistracy. He does not benefit from privileged jurisdiction. The SDF marched Boya, supporting the Anglophone cause. They were on the street. AYAH did not march. The SDF and the paramilitaries are loose, they are free. AYAH, who did not march, is arrested and under detention. Late Bappers, a very respectable man, was arrested and released afterwards, orders from the presidency. Why? He was in active service. AYAH is in active service. 100 days plus, arrested. He's under detention. A highly ranked personality was called up and said he was accused of the same litany of accusations like AYAH. He was interrogated, had a good time with the authorities said, and let loose. He's a free man. AYAH was not even, he didn't even have the laws protect. That individual is not protected by the law. AYAH is protected by the law. No legal requirement with regard to his person was respected. He was picked up and dumped at sea. A highly ranked individual at the heart of the Anglophone crisis called on youth to fight. That is their future, should fight. And even if they have no school for years, they are fighting a just cause. After all, in Ghana, there was no school for 100 years, and today they are okay. He's free. AYAH was preached dialogue consistently. Is locked up. Why is AYAH's case special? What is the problem with AYAH?
Okay.
What is his crime?
The rendezvous next hearing, when will it be?
We are waiting for the Supreme Court to make a statement on that. They have 30 days to rule on AYAH's case. We are still expecting a date. We hope they give us a date very soon.
All right. It was a pleasure having you tonight. AYAH Abine, you are a jurist and a spokesperson of the AYAH family.
Thank you, Mr. Hans, for having me. My sympathy goes to all the victims of the Anglophone crisis. We feel their pain. They've lost people. Others are detained. We just hope they find some peace and divine comfort from the Most High God.
It was equally a pleasure being with you in tonight's edition of the program, The Insight on Equinox Television. If you did enjoy the program, take our rendezvous there for next week Sunday, same time, 6:30 p.m., same channel, Equinox Television. Good night.